New and improved. Two words that businesses love to use. But often it turns out we choose to buy our old favourite. Thank you very much. And the last thing we want is for the winning formula to be changed in any way. Coca Cola is the world's biggest brand. Its success depends on one essential: a secret recipe kept under lock and key.
When you buy Coke, you're buying into a branding heritage, a cultural icon.
It's an extraordinary product. People did not want that tampered with.
This is the story of an intense rivalry, an ill-considered decision, and Coke shooting itself in the foot. It was April 1985, and Coca-Cola had summoned the press to an important announcement in New York City.
I think the anticipation would be that whatever Coke did would be a smart move. No one anticipated it wouldn't be. Camera crews, the major publications, everybody was going to be there. They orchestrated that part of the event quite well. They know how to do an event.
The really incredible thing was that they were able to keep this a secret for so long.
Coke chairman Roberto Goizueta was ready to let out his secret.
I'm going to get right to the point. The best soft drink, Coca Cola, is now going to be even better. Simply stated, we have a new formula for Coke.
For a second, the room is dead quiet. And that was a surprise. Coke represents America. And it was sort of like saying, well, we've decided to change the American flag and put the stars someplace else. I mean, what? Why are you doing that?
Cola drinks were invented in the 19th century. Before long, Coke and Pepsi became arch rivals. But by the Second World War, Coca-Cola had established its supremacy.
The U.S. government came to Coke and asked if we could provide Coca-Cola to the troops. We actually had 64 portable bottling plants move around with American GIs.
And when the soldiers left, Coca-Cola stayed, making it a global player.
In all the world, the best-loved sparkling drink is Coca-Cola.
We outsold Pepsi-Cola by margins of 2 to 3 to 1.
Coca-Cola always believed it was its secret formula which gave it the edge.
Coke has a distinctive flavor all its own that no one has ever succeeded in matching.
And for years, Coke's position was unassailable, until...
We were just the upstart, the number two, had been the number two for years and years and years.
By the 70s, tired of trailing behind, Pepsi needed something brilliant, something that would change the game.
All across America, people are taking the Pepsi Challenge.
Pepsi came up with a marketing masterstroke.
We instituted the Pepsi Challenge, which told the nation that more people preferred the taste of Pepsi to Coke.
Can you tell me which one you prefer?
L.
You're both sure you like L better.
Right.
What was your choice?
And that resulted in significant share gain, and that was very difficult for Coke to accept because they had been the champion forever.
The Pepsi Challenge became a real problem for us and a great concern to our marketeers.
And which was it you preferred? Pepsi. Just over half the drinkers tested prefer Pepsi.
Seriously, I mean, I remember at the time you almost couldn't refer to Pepsi. It was called PC. It was like your worst enemy. It really was.
Well, I'll be darned.
Everyone, I believe, on both sides was very, very involved in, let's call it the Cola Wars. That's exactly what it was.
Year after year, bit by bit, they were gaining market share.
Tell me what you chose.
Pepsi.
Pressure was growing at Coke to get its market share back. I want you to tell me which of these two colas you prefer. Guy, come here, come here, come here. You prefer the Coca Cola? Yeah, you preferred Pepsi Cola. The Pepsi challenge was a winner. It appeared to prove that people preferred the taste of Pepsi. But even more importantly, it also convinced executives at Coca-Cola that the taste of Coke was its biggest problem. They began to think the unthinkable. The taste of Coke had to be improved.
It was not something that you did lightly. You did a lot of market research. Almost 200,000 taste tests were conducted.
And those tests showed people preferred the new sweeter flavour. To Coke bosses, this market research was conclusive.
Armed with this data, they actually made the decision to go ahead, change the formula, introduce a new product into the marketplace, and withdraw the original formula.
Dazzled by what the market research was telling them, Coca-Cola decided to ditch the flavour that had made it the #1 drink all over the world and to replace it with a brand new cola the company had just invented.
I remember thinking at the time that this was either unbelievably brave or unbelievably stupid.
Thank you very much, Roberto. Well, we simply believe that this is the biggest news about Coca-Cola and the best news about Coca-Cola that we've ever announced or ever will announce. Consumers preferred the new taste over the original by a margin of 61 to 39.
He expected us to love the idea, and he did not get the sort of cheer he anticipated. It just died. And then the questions came.
I mean, are you 100% certain that this won't bomb, this new formula?
As I said, I think this is the surest move ever, because the consumer made it. We didn't.
They lost control of the meeting. And despite, all the things they had planned, they didn't expect questions to be quite as harsh as they were.
To what extent are you introducing this product to meet the Pepsi challenge?
Oh, gosh, no. I mean, that's Pepsi challenge. When did that happen?
It was very awkward, and I think the tension sort of showed. The responses began to get a little angrier.
Are you saying that Pepsi Cola has no more to do with this than Heinz baked beans or Hershey's Kisses?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. You can handle the English better than I can, so I'm not going to get into that argument with you.
Thank you very much, and I'd like to invite you to the lobby to try the new taste of Coca-Cola. Thank you. Thank you.
We taste the new Coke. Well, actually, it's on television, so you can see me do it.
It's sort of flat, and it is sweet, sort of like you left it in an open can in the refrigerator a while.
Like the new drink, the press conference had gone rather flat. But Coca-Cola decided to press on. And all across America, it created a huge fanfare to welcome new Coke.
It took a few days for the consumer reaction to start to move negatively. Typically, in our Consumer Information Center, we'd get about 300 to 400 calls a day. Suddenly, we were getting 1,500 calls a day. And these were not positive calls. These were negative calls. These were calls that basically said, I want my Coke back. We started to see protests in the street.
The taste of Coke.
Hey, have you tried the new Coke?
For Pepsi, things could scarcely be better.
It was a very big era, and it was very exciting because it was a day-by-day battle with Coke to take advantage of the situation.
In the universal search for great taste,
It doesn't take a higher intelligence to figure out why one cola's changed and one cola's chosen.
It's astonishing. It's absolutely astonishing that suddenly you give way to a weaker competitor, because that's what happened.
On the streets, the demonstrations were getting angrier.
It really got a little out of hand.
My oldest daughter is 22. Her first word was Coke. Her second word was Mommy.
Employees like myself would be confronted by neighbors saying, "What have you done?"
All Cola drinkers are America. Thank you for participating.
Militant Coke drinkers who wanted their old flavour back kept stepping up their campaign.
All Cola drinkers of America.
This was a new thing, to see this sort of grassroots organizing around an issue that people felt strongly about.
I put our names in.
Keen to find out exactly what was going wrong, Coke executives went back to their market research. They realised they'd made some extremely significant errors.
There is always a difference between blind taste testing and branded product testing. What you've got to remember with market research, and particularly if you're doing blind taste testing, is that you're doing it without all the brand associations attached. So for people to say, I prefer that product versus that product, is only one element of what happens in brand thinking.
We didn't ask all the questions we needed to ask. All we asked people was whether they preferred taste X to taste Y. We never asked them, how would you feel if we replaced X with Y?
The funny thing about this case is that big old dominant companies like Coke are usually accused of being too stuck in their ways. They're like dinosaurs, unable to keep up with the world. What Coke found out was it's not as simple as that. Successful companies have reasons to be cautious of change.
I have an expression I use to all my clients, is check the bathwater for babies. Before you throw out what you do, just check.
The prime lesson is that you don't mess with a brand that easily and that, in a sense, that quickly. And secondly, don't be over-influenced by the noises of your competitor.
Coke now knew it had messed up horribly, and the error was in danger of handing Pepsi an all-out victory in the cola wars.
Wars consist of a series of battles. What Pepsi felt at the time was, we won this battle. But certainly Coke was not going to lie down and die and not come back with something else.
And so the something that they decided to do was to bring back original formula Coca-Cola, this time branded as Coca-Cola Classic.
79 days after the introduction of new Coke, Coca-Cola executives came out again in front of the world's press, this time to say they were going to make a U-turn and revert to the old recipe.
Our boss is the consumer, and we want them to know that we're really sorry. Some critics will say Coca-Cola has made a marketing mistake, and some cynics say that we planned the whole thing. The truth is, we're not that dumb, and we're not that smart.
It was a huge decision to change back, because this was an admission that the original decision was flawed.
Corporations seldom say, I'm sorry, or we made a mistake. And it humanized them in a way that benefited that company to this day.
It is such a strong brand that even if they make a mistake, people see them like a brother or a sister. They'll forgive their brother and sister, and they'll let them have another chance.
If we ever heard of another one like this today, we'd go, wow, how can people do that? Not in the U.S. I think we've learned that lesson very well.
I'd like to buy the world a home and furnish it with love.
As for Coca-Cola, it had learned its lesson the hard way, but ultimately the new Coke experiment paid off.
Well, what happened next was that it generated a huge amount of interest. It garnered all sorts of fan love, consumer love, and it reached market shares it hadn't experienced for decades.